Hello, you guys, and welcome back to Mystical Visions. I know it's been a while, but you're just gonna have to take my word about the fact that December was intense and I needed some time off, but we're back and I will try my best to upload regularly, if not constantly all the time. However, today we are looking at the full moon. The day I'm recording this is actually the Cancer full moon. And because it is a full moon in Cancer, which is ruled by the moon, I felt like this would be the perfect reading for us to do this week. So today we're going to take a look at what you are releasing or what you're being called to release in this latter half of this lunar cycle. So what does the Cancer full moon want you to release right now? As always, we have some pre-shuffled cards. We'll take a look at what you are meant to be releasing, how your life will look once you've done this releasing, and finally, any advice that your guides have for you today. So as always, we have 3 piles. For pile 1, we have a Zodiac crystal. For pile 2, we have an amethyst. And for pile number 3, we have a jade crystal. Ooh, can we focus? Thank you. So, as always, I'll give you guys some time to sit with these 3 stacks of cards, see which one resonates with you. If this reading in general does resonate with you as well, please remember to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. It really helps the channel out so much. Timestamps, as always, are in the description. Go ahead and select your pile, and I'll see you at your reading. Hi pile 1, and welcome to your reading about what you are being called to release this full moon in Cancer. So if you picked this beautiful Zodiac crystal, which has to do with the throat chakra, then this is your reading. So the way I've gone ahead and done this is that these 4 cards in this stack, we have 2 cards and 2 clarifiers. They will tell us what needs releasing, potentially why as well. These 2 cards will tell us what your life will look like once you've finished releasing whatever you need to release. And then finally we have an oracle card for some advice, and we will be reading this from the book. All right, so let's dive right in. So what do you need to release? The first card we have is the 9 of Cups. Interesting. And that is clarified by the Hanged Man in reverse. The 9 of Cups and the Hanged Man in reverse. Pile 1, is there a specific image of the ideal life that you're holding on to? Perhaps this is to do with I don't want to say goals, because that seems too practical and realistic, but I'm talking more about an emotional perfect life that you've sort of held on to from a very young age. This could be maybe your understanding of an ideal relationship, or what the perfect emotional balance looks like, or what would make you happy, because the 9 of Cups, the suit of Cups is obviously your emotions. And it makes sense that this would come up in a Cancer full moon release reading. But the point I'm trying to make is that with this 9 of Cups, It feels like there's a certain notion that you adopted at a very, very young age about what your ideal happy ending would look like. And because of that, you might be quite rigid with what you are willing to accept in terms of love and fulfillment. You might feel like there is only a very specific type of person you'll allow into your life, be that romantically, platonically, familially. But there's only a certain type of person that would fit into this perfect image you've created in your mind. And the issue here is, it is not that, the people that you do allow in are toxic for you or anything like that. The issue is, these ideas were created by a very unevolved version of yourself, and it's almost like you're holding a strange loyalty to that version or what that version wanted, whereas who you are today might be quite different to who you used to be. And as a result, what your soul really desires now moving forward is going to be quite different to what it needed at the time. And with this Hanged Man in reverse, that's kind of telling me that because of this, you're in sort of a stuck energy where you're not allowing for new perspectives, you're not allowing for new experiences, because you're holding on to this idealized version of what you want, but it was created by an earlier, unhealed, unevolved version of yourself. And this full moon is calling you to let go of what you think you need or want in order to be happy, and maybe explore a little more as to what would actually make you happy. Take a look in your life, because you might have surrounded yourself with stuff that would have made your past self happy, but doesn't necessarily make your current self happy. And there might be a little bit of guilt associated with letting it all go. Just because, I wanted this for so long, and now that I have it, I feel like I don't want it anymore. It doesn't resonate with me. Am I just being ungrateful? No, you're not being ungrateful, Palwan. What you are being is discerning. As we grow, our needs change, our desires change, our end goals change, and that is perfectly natural, and that is, in fact, necessary, because if we stuck with the same set of needs and wants, we would have no need to evolve. And we do need to evolve in order to create a better world and a better life and all of that. So if you find that there is a bit of guilt surrounding the fact that this ideal end goal doesn't really work for you today, even though you are much more likely to achieve it now than you were at a different point in your life, this full moon is calling you to release any guilt. In fact, I feel like this might also be hindering your evolution to begin with. So it's not just that you're not evolving your end goal as you evolve as a person, but it might actually be hindering your evolution, because with this Hanged Man in reverse, it's almost like a refusal to see new possibilities. It's almost a refusal to look at life through a new lens, even though the lens is very much available to you. And it's like you're creating your own blockage. Because the Hanged Man is that Aquarius card of otherworldly knowledge, of, seeing things that no one else can see, being a conduit for the divine, being sort of like a go-between across the veil between the physical realm and like the more subtle realm. And to have that in reverse because of this Nine of Cups, or to clarify this Nine of Cups, it's almost like this idealized outcome that you've been holding on to for so long is actively blocking you from grounding these visions that you are meant to ground into this reality. Let's see, what else do you need to let go of? We have the Five of Wands, and that is clarified by the Ace of Wands in reverse. Yeah, dude. So the Five of Wands is a conflict card, and what's interesting is that the next card, the Six of Wands, is the victory card. And it's like this one extra ace would have taken you from this conflict state to the victory state. But that's in reverse. There is no passion here. There's no sort of drive anymore. And that could also be a result of you holding on to this vision of something that you don't even feel passionately about. This full moon is trying to tell you that it's okay to release what you thought you wanted. Even if it is so much easier for you to have it now, it is okay to let it go. This could also be, now this is a very specific message. This could also be a relationship that you've taken so long to get to a stage where it is stable and functional. A relationship you wanted it to be in for so long, but it is not one that can sustain you as you grow and evolve. And that has to be your priority, Pawan. It just does, because otherwise you're going to stay stagnant, and stagnant things rot. You know, there is no nice way to put it. They just sit in one place and they rot. And you don't want that. And it's almost like there was once a time where these together would have brought you that sense of victory, that sense of accomplishment. But now with this Ace of Wands, this inspiration in reverse, it's kind of left the party. It's thrown you straight into this conflict. And it almost feels like an internal conflict more than a conflict with anyone else. Which makes complete sense, because this would be something that you probably wrestle with inside your own head. Of, you know, oh, I always wanted this, but now that I have it, I feel like I don't want it anymore. You know, what's wrong with me? Blah, blah, blah. There's nothing wrong with you. It's just that you have manifested something that would have better suited a past version of yourself. But that's not who you are anymore. And it's okay to let go of this. Wow, this is such a specific message. Pawan. Let me know in the comments if it resonates, because it's so, like, specific. It's so precise, I guess. Where it feels like it could, I'm sure it could apply to like a whole bunch of different situations, but it's not as general as one would expect from a general reading. But the point is, you're definitely being asked to let go of something that you thought would make you happy, because clearly it doesn't anymore. And you deserve that Six of Wands moment, Pawan. You just do. We all do. Everyone deserves to have their Six of Wands. Everyone deserves to have their Ten of Cups. You see how both of these are just one shy of being perfect. It's almost like you went to the Ten of Cups, you went to the Six of Wands, and then you took a step back. And it's like you're guilting yourself for feeling like you want to take a step back, like you want to step away from a situation that no longer serves you. And this full moon is encouraging you to acknowledge that this isn't for you anymore, that you are not this person anymore whom this situation would work for, and B, stop feeling guilty. Now, I know that sounds like I'm telling you what to do. I'm not. Well, I guess I am. I'm not telling you what to do. The universe is telling you what to do. I'm just a messenger. But what you need to do is release the guilt of feeling like your needs are evolving as you evolve, because that's perfectly natural. If they didn't evolve with you, you would not be growing very much. Okay, so step one is to just release the guilt. All right, just let it go. So now let's look at what your life might be like once you've let go of this whole situation, and at the very least, once you've let go of the guilt, right? We've got strength. See, this is what your life would look like. It would be so much more balanced. It would be knowing that you have the power to wrestle this lion creature, but you don't have to. You have the power to accomplish whatever your past self would have wanted, but you don't have to. And I think the biggest thing that's coming your way once you've let go of this is the understanding that you can hold space for healing your past self and for nurturing your inner child without sacrificing your present self. We'll get into that in a sec. But to clarify, we have the Four of Pentacles. Okay. So first, to what I was talking about, there's a lot of talk in the spiritual community about healing your inner child and, doing what your child self would have wanted to indulge them and indulge their whims. And that is wonderful. And we should all do it. Absolutely, we should. There is so much that every child is deprived of, just because it's not feasible for every child to get every single thing that they want all the time. It's not feasible and it's not healthy. But as we grow up, we have the ability to give ourselves the things that we wanted in moderation, in healthy ways. And I think it is very important for us to actually do that. However, it can get a little obsessive. And this is me completely speaking from personal experience. I had a specific life envisioned that I wanted to live. And I held on to that ideal for a very long time, an unhealthy amount of time. And it got to a point where I was actively rejecting what my present self wants in order to try and stick to what I thought I wanted. And this happened like a fair few years ago, right? But the point is, what I learned is it is possible to respect your inner child's perspective, but not allow it to cloud who you are growing into today. Yes, my inner child thought that she wanted something out of life, but she was quite limited by what she saw around herself. And as she has grown and evolved into who I am today, she or I have learned that maybe that idealized version of what I thought I wanted my life to be wasn't even really me. It was a projection from the people around me and society as a whole, and all that great stuff that we get to deal with as young children. But the most important lesson has been to hold space for both. Hold space for the fact that my child self deserved to have her desires indulged in, and my present self deserves to be free of those expectations that I placed on myself at a very young age. And I think that's what the Strength card tells us, is that it is entirely possible to hold space for duality. Because in the imagery of the Strength card, it is a woman taming a lion. And that's not because she wants the lion to be subservient, or she doesn't want that lion to be free and to wreak havoc or anything like that. But she understands that she could set the lion on anyone and get her work done. But she also understands that that lion isn't going to fix her issues. There are ways to deal with it in smarter, more evolved ways. So when it comes to manifesting or wanting a happy outcome out of life, you could go to the extremes. Either only stick to what your inner child wanted and stay stuck in that energy, or only deal with what your current self wants and just completely ignore your inner child and leave it unhealed. But you'll find that once you've released the guilt and the expectations, that you're able to find more of a balance here. You're able to find sort of a harmony between your current self and your past self, where you're able to indulge both in healthy, balanced ways that simultaneously allow you to feel fulfilled and feel like you've lived a full life, but also feel like you're doing right by yourself currently. And that's what's coming towards you. That is not an interpretation of the Strength card I've ever come up with before. That's very interesting. What is also interesting is this Four of Pentacles, though, because the Four of Pentacles talks about financial stability to a point where it's like you don't want to let go. It's like almost an obsession with keeping the status quo. That's the essence of the Four of Pentacles. And so I guess once you do let go of the shame and the guilt of either not having what you wanted, or having what you wanted and not wanting it anymore, once you let go of like all those complex emotions, at the very core of it, you might find that the fear is about instability. It may have had something to do with your childhood. It may have had to do with your evolution, but at the end of the day, it is a fear of change. And me telling you this right now might be giving you spoilers, so I do apologize if I spoiled anything for you. But the point is, you are coming to a place moving forward where you're starting to realize just how stubborn your fears are. Because the Strength card is Leo energy, which is fixed fire. The Four of Pentacles is fixed earth. And it's this idea of, I know I need more, I know I want more, I know I deserve more. But I also know that would mean letting go of what I'm comfortable with, and that's scary. And it feels like, looking forward, it is going to be a bit of a journey. I'm not going to lie to you, Palawan. Because you're dealing with some very subtle complexities, if that makes sense. So it's not so much that you're hitting a tower moment or you're upending your life as you know it or anything of that sort. It's more that you're going inwards. You're doing sort of like a revamp of how you think and how you feel, and how you deal with your complex feelings. and what fears are coming up and where they come from, and taking stock of everything. Interesting. So what advice does the universe have for you, or your guides or spirit? We have big picture thinking, Pleiades energy, visionary, inspired ideas. Yes, okay, yeah, because that's that Aquarian energy, that hanged man energy, is the idea of big picture thinking, of having visions, of having inspired ideas. Once you release this block, that's where you're going, and that's what the universe wants for you. And that's why this work is important for you right now, Pal One, is because you are about to enter an era in your life where you see so much more than you've ever seen before, where you have these grand visions, you have these ideas. If you're creative in any sense, like if that's the kind of work you do, you will be hit with so much inspiration once you let this go, that this Ace of Wands energy is desperate to come your way, and it is so eager to come your way. And once you let go, it's coming flooding in. Let's have a look. Big picture thinking, that is on page 38. If that number means anything to you, it reduces to 11. Interesting. The Pleiadians are our cosmic cousins. They're here to remind us that it's never too late to learn new things and change the future. You're being called to be a visionary for the planet, to take a breath, shake off what you've been taught about the world, and hold a new vision for humanity. The world needs more artists, dreamers, inventors, and visionary thinkers. Perhaps you've had an idea recently that you're being called to usher in. If so, this card is your confirmation that it's divinely guided. The Pleiadians support us in this important stage in Earth's development. They want us to know that the decisions we make today will affect the well-being of our planet and all its species. They're calling on you to be a leader for the future, to hold a clear vision of what's possible. How are you being called to step up and lead? What new ideas or creations are you being called to pursue? Well, that explains why this is coming up for you right now, because you're about to step into an era of massive downloads, big visions. Your dreams might end up being a lot more profound. You might get random thought downloads, random ideas. So definitely keep an eye out for that. And the full moon tends to do that to a lot of people in general. So definitely keep an eye out for that. But that's your reading for today, pal number one. Thank you so much for being here and letting me do this reading for you, and for sharing your time and energy with me. I really do hope it resonated and helped. If it did, please remember to give me a big thumbs up, subscribe to my channel for more readings, comment below how this reading resonated for you, because I always love to hear from you. And yeah, thanks so much for being here. Stick around to the outro for another reading on my channel, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye. Alright, pile 2, hello. Welcome to your reading about what you need to release in this full moon in Cancer half of the cycle. So if you picked this amethyst crystal, then welcome. This is your reading. So I've gone ahead and pre-shuffled your cards. These first 4 cards, we have 2 cards and 2 clarifiers. These are going to tell us what you need to release and potentially why you need to release it right now. And then once you've done your releasing, we're going to take a look at these 2 cards, which will give us some insight into what you can expect moving forward once you've done all of this. And finally, we have an oracle card just as some advice from your spirit guides and the universe in general, and we will be reading that from the book. Alrighty, so I already feel quite upbeat with your energy. That's interesting. So pile number 2, what do you need to release? So to start off, we have the Lovers. Oh, that's a happy card. I love it. I love the Lovers card in this deck. It's beautiful. This is Tarot of the Divine by one of my favorite artists, Yoshitani. Gorgeous. And we have the Eight of Cups. Interesting. The Lovers and the Eight of Cups. So I'm not going to lie to you, this could be a partnership that you're being encouraged to walk away from. Okay, this is interesting. I just got an alternative interpretation. It could be that you need to walk away from assuming the worst about a partnership. There might be certain preconceived notions that you have about, say for instance, this is a romantic relationship. It could be a business relationship, but the Lovers generally talks about, partners romantically. So say now this is a romantic relationship that you're in. You've been in for a little while now. It does feel quite early stages, I'm not gonna lie, but you might be so used to these things falling apart at this stage. You might have been through a lot of talking stages with a whole bunch of people and nothing works out, and you're about ready to get out. You've got one foot out the door because you know that, things will most likely fall apart any time now, any moment. And it could be that it's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy of some sort, where you expect these relationships to fall apart at an early stage, and that doesn't mean that you're causing relationships to fall apart and therefore you are going to miss the person that's right for you. No, what this means is you are attracting people into your life that are here for a season, that are here for a couple of weeks of the talking stage, and then they're going to leave, or then you're going to break up for whatever reason. And I think what you need to release is this idea that any relationship you get into falls apart at this stage, at this early-ish stage, where you're starting to find things about each other that really resonate, because that's kind of the vibe I get from this Lovers card, where the idea is that she is so different to him. It's like Beauty and the Beast, right? She is so different to him on the surface, but then the more they get to know each other, the more they talk, the more they learn about each other, the more they find things about each other that they resonate with. And that's what happens in a talking stage, right? And so you might have, I'm just going to move this stone over here for whatever reason. I just felt called to create a little more space here. Maybe you are being called to create a little more space in your heart center, where you might keep it quite closed off in general as a protective mechanism. And that is completely fair enough. It's not easy finding people that you really get on with, but the issue is that you might be expecting the worst. In fact, you might find that you almost don't want to have a lot in common with the people that you see, because that way when you walk away, it's a lot easier. It's a lot easier to walk away from something that you were not very invested in to begin with, right? And this full moon in Cancer is definitely calling you to let go of that fear. And I know that's so much easier said than done. Hey, I have the same exact fear as well. So it's all good. You're in good company. But the point is, unless you actively work on reprogramming your mind, refocusing how you see relationships, how you see the early stages of the uncertainty and that kind of thing, you will only attract people who are not going to stay beyond that stage. And at the end of the day, if you are looking for a partner, we want someone who's going to stay for the long haul, where even if we do find things about each other that we don't necessarily resonate with, it's not insurmountable. It's not like, oh, walking away is the easiest option. No, we want someone who will stay, someone that we want to stay with, and expecting the worst and assuming that they are going to leave after a couple of weeks of talking or after a couple of months of knowing each other or seeing each other is only going to attract more of that energy. And with this full moon being in Cancer, it's like you're about ready to release that emotional baggage that comes from being abandoned, because at the very core of it, what this is an abandonment wound. It's funny because I initially thought that, well, I initially automatically assumed that this would be about you being called to leave a relationship that you're in, or to walk away from a situationship that you're in. And I feel like that's kind of your default assumption before you get into relationships, is that I'm just going to have to walk away from this eventually. So, might as well get what I can when I can. And that is not a healthy foundation for a partnership, right, Partu? And so this Cancer full moon is asking you to walk away from the idea of you're going to have to walk away. Or walk away from the idea that you're going to have to leave. Okay, the next two cards we have are the Hermit. That's funny. And the King of Swords. There we go. Okay. On the surface, this is really funny because with the Hermit coming out, it's almost like you assume you're just going to spend the rest of your life in your own company. You just assume that the rest of your life is going to be an internal pursuit, and like relationships or partnerships, even if it is like in business or whatever. No, I keep trying to justify and trying to make this fit every single narrative, but no, the message is going to come through the way it's going to come through. See, this is me learning in real time. But okay, let's talk about relationships. You may have resigned yourself to the idea that the rest of your life is meant to be solo. Like deep down, you will probably never have a partner. And so you might as well use these early stage relationships that you're jumping from one to the other. You might as well use them as distraction while you do the inner work. And I'm not here to judge, that's totally fair. Like if that helps you get your mind off of pursuing something serious while you do your inner work, more for you. Good for you. Amazing. But if you're here, I get the feeling that you kind of want something a little more serious, but it's also like this abandonment wound keeps you from hoping. It keeps you stuck in this energy of I might as well prepare to run. I might as well have my go bag ready because this is going to fall apart and then I'm on to the next one. And the issue might be with this King of Swords is you might be overly intellectualizing these things. You might be kind of forcing yourself into I want to say a masculine way of thinking, but I don't mean like masculine in the human sense, but rather in the spiritual sense of structure and things being cut and dry and that kind of thing, where it's almost like when you enter a relationship, you have a checklist of, okay, I'm going to expect this, and this to happen by this date. And then once that happens, I'll know exactly how the relationship is going to unfold, because based on my previous experience, we'll find out that there are issues here, and here. And then we're going to decide that it's not working out. And then I'm on to the next one. It's like you've created this, what's the word for it? Like a conveyor belt of sequences of what's going to happen, of what's coming up next. And it's like the same thing over and over and over again. And Spirit's calling you right now to throw that in the bin. The other thing that was interesting and that made me giggle when this Hermit came out is that this is the Gemini card, this is the Virgo card. Both of these are ruled by Mercury. And your energy does feel quite mercurial, and Mercury is the ruler of most air signs, or like is related to like the air element, and communication, which is an air sign thing. So you might have quite prominent air in your chart. You might have a Venus in an air sign, and that kind of automatically makes you quite logical or pragmatic when it comes to emotions. And the fact that this is the full moon in Cancer, which is like the emotion of emotion in Emotionville, I think you might be being called to examine where this almost obsessive practicality comes from, where this compulsive pragmatism is coming from. Because it might just be a defense mechanism that you assume will keep you safe from heartbreak, because heartbreak is hard to intellectualize. It doesn't make sense because it doesn't work the same for everyone, and that might irk you a little bit. And I think what you're really being called to let go of is this very structured approach of almost assuming exactly how a relationship is going to play out and how it's going to fall apart. Because not only is it causing you to just straight up manifest that, like I said, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, but it is also closing you off from learning something new, from being open to surprises, from being open to possibilities, because you've almost pre-written a relationship, and therefore you're manifesting more of that kind of energy into your life, where it is the same cycle over and over again, and then it just reinforces your belief that that's how relationships play out, and then it plays out like that again. And just see where I'm going with this? That's so interesting. So yeah, pile 2, the name of the game this half moon cycle that's remaining is to almost pretend like you don't know a thing about relationships. It's almost like embracing a beginner's mind of, I have no idea how these things work. Let me just be open to however this wants to play out. Because once you release that, let's see what's coming your way. We have the Page of Wands in reverse. And that is clarified by the Nine of Wands, also in reverse. Interesting. I actually see this as a good thing. No, this is a good thing, part 2, because the pages are the most immature of all the court cards, and the Page of Wands especially tends to be immature and reckless. The Page of Wands goes blindly into situations, never really knowing what's going to happen, and never really caring enough about what's going to happen. And it's almost like you've done this to yourself, where you approach relationships through this Page of Wands energy of having very strict blinders on, of this is how I see life, this is how it's going to play out, and you cannot change my mind, and I'm just going to go in there, have my fun, get out. And then that leaves you feeling alone and burdened and tired and almost emotionally cold. This is interesting. I don't usually get this from the King of Swords, but do you see how his face looks so sullen? Like he feels empty. Like he's looking out and he's like, what's the point of any of it? You might be in that energy right now. But once you let it go, you have the Page of Wands in reverse, where you're embracing more maturity. You're embracing more of the idea that you might not know as much as you thought you knew, or making assumptions might not be what's best for you in relationships, that kind of thing. Because contrary to what we assume, making assumptions is actually a sign of immaturity. Whereas true emotional maturity is knowing that you cannot control every outcome. You cannot assume how something is going to play out. It will play out the way it wants to play out. What you can control is how you respond to it. Right? And I see that level of like emotional evolution coming your way as you let go of these preconceived notions. And with the Nine of Wands in reverse, it's going to feel like a burden is lifted. It's going to feel like there was so much you were afraid of. You might have to face it, but you will also learn that you absolutely have what it takes to sit with that fear, to process that fear, and to let it go. I feel a huge emotional release coming your way, Pole 2, especially surrounding relationships. And again, if you're not into like romantic stuff, first of all, this reading is probably not the best or most suited for you anyway. But if you're still here, it could be around platonic relationships, where you find that you jump from friendship to friendship, looking for someone that you can resonate with, and you find that no matter how much you have in common with someone, it always ends up falling apart. And it could just be that your assumption that it's going to fall apart is attracting people to you that will leave. Because we attract the energy that we radiate, right? And with this Nine of Wands in reverse, you might find that once you process this, once you let go of these assumptions and this idea that you're going to be alone forever just because you've been attracting a certain kind of person so far, once you realize that your future does not have to be a mirror of your past, that you have the power to create change, you'll find that it is a huge burden lifted, because it's almost like, oh, I guess I'm not cursed to live this way. I guess I wasn't cursed to live my life all by myself. I guess it's just an illusion that either I created or someone created for me. And now that I can let it go, oh, look, there's an infinite world out there with infinite possibilities, and I can approach it with more caution and be more mindful of the energies that I'm inviting into my life, as opposed to just letting the first person that comes along into my life and hoping for the best, and then it doesn't work out, and then being like, I knew it. You know what I mean? There's a lot of emotional growth coming your way, Pal 2, and it is gonna kind of restructure how you approach being a human being, how you approach emotions, and how you approach relationships. And it might feel weird and wonky. You might feel like you're going through like emotional puberty, but it will be so worth it. I promise you. Man, this reading in particular has really resonated hard with me as well. But anyway, let's take a look at what advice the universe or your spirit guides have for you right now. We have, your life is a canvas, artist, manifestation, creative, accountability. Boom. Mic drop. Yeah, that is exactly what you're going to learn, and what you need to embody is the idea of creative accountability. And you don't have to be like a literal artist for this to resonate, but also that is so funny because I am a literal artist, and I just told you that this pearl resonates for me, but that's a me problem. No, the issue is when we make these assumptions about this is just how the world is, this is how life is, this is how, people are. This is just how relationships go. We are letting go of the power and the responsibility of manifesting these situations into our lives. And taking accountability isn't just, hating yourself for creating the situation that you're in. No, taking accountability is, yes, acknowledging that you have probably had a much bigger role in the life that you're currently living, but also realizing that if that's true, that also means you have the agency to make bigger changes than you thought were possible, in order to live a better life, in order to see a better world, in order to find better relationships, find healthier relationships, right? But let's go ahead and read this from the book. This is going to be, I believe this is the final card in this deck. Your life is a canvas. You're the artist of your life, and your life is a canvas. Take responsibility for your ability to create. Earth is known as a planet of manifestation. Your present moment is based on your past thoughts and beliefs. Your current thoughts determine your future. What kind of life do you want to create for the future? What are you being called to create? If you're not sure what you'd like to create, start instead with a feeling of deep gratitude for all that is good in your life right now. State out loud what you're most thankful for. Look for the good in your life, and one thing will be certain: you'll find yourself attracting more and more good experiences into your world. What have you been called to create? How can you express yourself more creatively? That might be something you might want to explore, pile 2, as you process all of this. Maybe using a creative outlet to help you work through some difficult emotions, especially this abandonment stuff that's coming up here, which I do this all the time. Like I said, I'm an artist, I paint, and most of the time when I'm painting is when I process some very heavy emotions and thought patterns and that kind of thing. And it really does make the world of a difference to have your hands engaged so your mind can think. That might be something you might want to explore. But that is your message for today, Part 2. Thank you so much for being here, because this has been as healing for me as hopefully it has for you. This has resonated with me, and I really do hope it resonated with you. If it did, make sure to give me a big thumbs up, and definitely leave me a comment below telling me how this reading applies to your life, because I'm very, very curious to know. If you enjoyed this reading, then make sure you subscribe to my channel, because I do more readings all the time. Thank you so much for being here and sharing your time and energy with me and letting me read for you today. I really do hope it brought you a bit of support and clarity. You can always stick around to the outro for another reading on my channel, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye. Pile number 3. Hello. Welcome to your Cancer full moon reading about what you need to release right now. So if you picked this jade crystal, then this is your reading. I have to say, when I was shuffling the cards, your pile was the most chaotic of the lot. So do with that what you will. Maybe you're in a very chaotic energy right now. Maybe you're particularly affected by this full moon. We'll find out. So today we're talking all about what you need to release right now, because full moons are a time of quite heavy release, and with the Cancer full moon it might be quite deep emotional release. So I've gone ahead and pre-shuffled your pile, and these first 4 cards, we have 2 cards and 2 clarifiers, and these are going to tell us what you actually need to release, and potentially why you need to release it right now. Then with these 2 cards, we'll take a look at what your life might look like once you've done this releasing. And then finally, we'll take a look at some advice from the universe, spirit guides, all of that good stuff. So let's go ahead and start with what you do actually need to release. So the first card we have is the Page of Swords. And to clarify that, we have the Hierophant. Okay, so this is a very different message to the other two piles. Well, slightly different to one pile, but I can see this going in a very different direction. So, with the Page of Swords and the Hierophant, what I'm very clearly seeing here is you need to let go of trying to logic every single thing. You might be a very fixed person. You might be the kind where it's like there's a specific way to do things and I will only do them that way, even if it means it hurts me or it causes damage. You might almost be rigid to your own detriment. And that is what you're being called to let go of. And I feel like I am straight up reading you to filth, but I promise you I'm not trying to. I'm very much like this myself. So great stuff. But with the Page of Swords, pages are quite immature energy. And, well, they are the most immature of all the court cards. And they often talk about being at the beginning of a journey. And the Suit of Swords is all about intellect and communication and practicality and, you know, the divine masculine, where it's all about structure and rigidity and using your mind over your heart, working on thought instead of emotion, that kind of thing. And with pages, it tends to be quite erratic because pages don't quite know what they're doing, for lack of a better way to explain it. Because they are so young, because they're so early in their journey, they might have this massive intellect, but they don't quite know how to apply it and how to bring it into balance yet. Think of like, if you've gone to university or if you've gone to like high school, that kind of thing, think of how smart you thought yourself to be, and then how those like few years of education humbled you. You know, that's the kind of energy I'm getting here, where you feel like you know plenty. And with the Hierophant here, the Hierophant talks about structures, it talks about a certain way of doing things and sticking to hierarchies and that kind of thing. And with these two, it kind of makes me think that you are so deeply attached to the way that things are done. You're so deeply attached to routine that it's almost keeping you at the bottom of this hierarchy. It's almost keeping you stuck at this page level. And it's like you want to evolve beyond this, right? We all do. We all want to get to that king status. But to get there means we have to, not only do we have to be open to the fact that there is so much out there that we don't know, there's so much out there that we'll never know, but also to understand that in order to be a different level, we have to let go of our present. In order to evolve, we have to let go of what we currently have, right? You can't be in two places at once, not as a human being anyway. You have to, if you want to move forward, you have to let go of what's behind you. You just do. You can't be back there and move forward at the same time, is the point I'm trying to make. And this full moon is definitely calling you to release this almost I don't want to say obsession, but fascination. That's a better word. There's fascination with the powers that be, with the way things are structured, with keeping things exactly the way they are. Because I feel like that is getting in your way, that is getting in the way of your evolution. And it's always going to keep you at a point where you're always under someone else. That's the kind of vibe I'm getting from the Hierophant here, is that you're one of these two guys, and the Hierophant will always hold a position of authority over you, which I don't think you want. Yeah, it does. I do feel like this reading is going to tell you a little bit about evolving and growing as an individual. And the sacrifices that go into it. So next we have the Six of Swords in reverse. And to clarify that, we have the Emperor in reverse. Dude, yeah, okay. That makes perfect sense. So the Six of Swords usually talks about moving forward, moving into calmer waters, and to have it in reverse is, I mean, in this case, it's quite literally moving backwards, right? And it's like you want your life to be smooth sailing as you go forward, but it's almost like you're hindering your own growth by sticking so strongly to what you know and what is familiar. Okay, but we'll come back to that. With the Emperor in reverse, the Emperor is the Aries card, and that is all about being a trailblazer, moving forward, and, you know, doing things your way. And you can't tell an Aries what to do. You just cannot. It doesn't work. And to have that in reverse is kind of, it's almost like you're starting to lose this spark of almost like a childlike optimism, which is funny because pages do tend to embody that that essence of childlike optimism, of anything is possible and I can be whatever I want to be. But then when you impose these restrictions on yourself, and I feel like this is more social restrictions, or like what's institutionalized restrictions, where it's, you might, so for instance, when I was in university, right, I have a STEM degree, and the one thing I absolutely could not stand about the field of academic science is how rigid it was. We've always done things a certain way, and we will continue to do them the same exact way. We have protocols, we have specific guidelines, and you have to adhere to them, because otherwise you're going to fail, and otherwise you're not going to get funding, and this and that, and there's no room to breathe. There's no room to explore and expand. At least in my experience. And I feel like that's kind of what you might be dealing with, where it's like you want to grow, you want to evolve, but then there's certain restrictions that have been forced onto you by people in positions of power. And now you might want to break free from it, and you might even be at a point where you can successfully break free of these restrictions, where you have the power and the opportunity to, but it's almost like you're holding yourself back. It's like you've internalized this narrative of things have to be this way, and as a result, it's like, I'm surprised the Eight of Swords isn't here, because that's the kind of energy I'm getting, where you're in like a prison of your own making, and although you didn't create the prison, you're now refusing to step out of it, even though there's no reason for you to stay there. And this very much feels like career or school based, or like, yeah, something like that. It doesn't necessarily feel emotional at all, because there's two swords cards, there's a fire, there's earth, there isn't any like water energy here. This definitely feels more career based. It feels like you've internalized that idea of things have to be done a certain way, in a certain order, in a certain timeline. And as a result, even if there's opportunities coming your way, you're almost refusing them, knowing fully well that this is exactly the kind of thing you want in order to be your best self, but also being like, well, I don't think I'm qualified enough yet. And even though they are offering me a job that pays me triple the amount, and they're offering to train me to be good at the job, I'm not going to take it because I feel like it's too early in my journey. And that can be valid if you feel like you're not quite there yet, but you know you are capable of better things. You know you are capable of achieving more than you give yourself credit for. But it is that internalized sense of, I'm not good enough until someone in a position of power tells me I am. And I feel like that's what's keeping you restricted and sort of tied to this page status. And that's what will forever keep you here unless you actively let go of this mindset, pile 3. Because if you find that you've reached a plateau in your career, if you find that you've reached stagnation in your education or whatever you do, it is just a mental game. It is just a restriction you have learned and you're struggling to unlearn. And that's what this full moon is calling you to release right now. But the good news is that once you release it, there is some stuff coming your way. So let's take a look at what's coming your way once you've done this healing and releasing. Would you look at that? Would you look at that? We have the Hierophant in reverse. God damn. They don't mess around. It's 2 different decks. You see? That's right there. The Hierophant in reverse. And the World. Oh my God. So you are... I feel like you're so fixed as a person that it might actually play in your favor, because when you're in, but when you're out, you are out, you know? And once you do this work of releasing, you'll find that there is not a single structure in the entire world, in the entire universe, that can ever keep you down. Because, baby, you are not stopping until you get to this world energy. The world card is the final. And do you see all of these major arcana? All of these major arcana. This is profound work that you're being called to do right now. This is a phase of your life that is going to impact the rest of your existence. And I'm not just talking about in this lifetime, but moving forward. You might carry wounds from previous lifetimes that sort of made you susceptible to needing that structure and that kind of organizational, institutional sort of life. But it is time to let it go, because once you do, there is nothing that can stop you. The World card is the last of the major arcana. It is the ultimate joy. It is the ultimate fulfillment. It is the end of this journey. And I do feel this is a cycle you've been stuck in for some time now. And once you break it, it's never coming back. It is never going to bother you again. And you will, I'm not going to say your life is going to be like perfect from this point forward, because that would be boring, honestly. But you will never have to go through this lesson again. You might deal with sort of similar situations that might try to put restrictions on you. And that's just the universe testing to see if you're done with this lesson so we can move on. But you will come out with flying colors, pile 3. Oh, that is incredible. That is incredible. You love to see it. Yeah, there isn't really much more to say other than do this work. Do it. Do it right now. Throw away these restrictions. Throw away the rules. You know them enough to know that you won't be reckless with them. But get rid of anything that's keeping you small. You might think that you need approval from higher ups in order to really go after the life that you want, but you don't. The higher ups got where they are because they threw away the structure, because they worked their way beyond these fears, beyond needing approval from someone else. You can't be in a position of power if you give your power away. And pile 3, you deserve to be in a position of power. You have the skill, you have the intellect, you have the drive. You're just masking it behind this institution. And once you get rid of it, you'll realize what were you waiting for? You know, you almost kick yourself. You almost be like, oh, why did I waste all that time? I could have been here like years ago. Before I even got my qualifications, I could have been here. But, you know, it is part of our journey. It's part of our evolution. The lessons that stick with us the strongest are the ones that take the longest to learn. And that's perfectly fine. Because I do feel like this is a lesson you will take with you in other lifetimes going forward. Now, obviously, time is not linear. You might take this into a lifetime in the past. You know, you never know. But you have the potential to have so much power, and it will be power in the right hands, pile 3. Because that self-doubt will keep you grounded. That self-doubt will evolve into self-awareness. And that will keep you grounded enough to know that when you do have the power that you have, it's not going to turn you into like a supervillain. It's going to be power in the right hands, and you deserve it. And you have worked so hard, and you have more than earned this position, this happiness, this fulfillment with this world card. It is just about letting go of these restrictions that you've internalized. I want to say self-imposed, but it doesn't feel self-imposed. It feels like these restrictions were put on you by someone else, and you've just held on to them for much longer than you've needed to. It's time to release that, because look what's waiting for you. Yeah, I do feel like this is a time of massive, massive change in your life, pile 3. I'm so glad you're here today, because this has been quite an energizing reading for me to do. What's your advice? All paths lead home. Inner authority. See that? Do you see it? Inner authority, intuition. Turn your gaze within. All paths lead home. Your success is inevitable. Your power is inevitable. It's just about how long it takes you to get there. No one's going to take it away from you. You could be stuck in this institutional energy for like 50 more years, but you will eventually make it there. It's just that there is so much you could be doing for the world right now. If you just went out and took the opportunities that come your way. This inner authority, like that's all it is though. That's all it is. You need to concede to your inner boss, your inner megalomaniac. No, not a megalomaniac. I think I trust you more than that. But let's read this one from the book, All Paths Lead Home. That's page 34, if that means anything. To you, that reduces to a 7. All right, all paths lead home. It's normal to look to the external world for answers and guidance. What's revolutionary is turning your gaze inwards. You're being called to source your guidance from within, to study the terrain of your inner landscape, to develop a reliable relationship with your soul. The more time you spend connecting with your soul, the deeper the connection will become. This doesn't mean switching off from the realities of today's world. We need as many conscious people as possible living with their eyes wide open. Rather, it is a call to start your day from a place of connectedness, grace, and devotion. So when you go out into the world and when you let the world in, you do it from an unshakable state of being. A state where you draw your strength, authority, and guidance from a place deep, deep within. How are you being called to turn your gaze within? Yeah, dude, it's all about looking for validation within yourself as opposed to seeking it externally. That's so powerful. You are so powerful, Pile 3. It's just about shedding this misunderstanding of needing someone else to tell you that you're powerful. It is just who you are. It's in your veins. It's in your blood. Go out there and claim it. And that's your reading for today. Enough said, Pile 3. But yeah, for real, thank you so much for being here and sharing your time with me and sharing your energy with me, especially at like such a big turning point. I'm so glad to be here with you. I hope this reading resonated because it's a powerful reading, bro. And if it did, please remember to like and subscribe. Comment below how this resonated because I'm definitely curious to hear what's going on. Thank you so much for being here. I hope this reading brought you some support and clarity. You can stick around to the outro just after this for another reading on my channel. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.